So today, we're going to dive into this really powerful story of transformation. It's about something I think we can all relate to, that heavy, heavy weight of shame and the incredible lightness that comes when you're finally set free from it. But before we jump in, I want to start with a question for you. What would it feel like to be completely known? I mean, all your secrets, all your history, all the messy parts, and instead of getting judgment, you get total acceptance. Just keep that question in your back pocket because it is the absolute heart of the story we're about to unpack. All right, so our story kicks off with a woman who has literally built her entire life around avoiding being seen. She lives in the shadows, not because she's some kind of recluse by choice, but because she feels like she has no other option. Look, we all kind of know what shame feels like, right? But in this story, it's so much more than just a feeling. It's a wall. It is an active, powerful force that has pushed this woman to the very edges of her world, cutting her off from her own community. This one tiny detail, it just says so much about her isolation. I mean, think about it. Who in their right mind goes to draw water in the blazing midday sun? The well was the ancient version of the water cooler, the social hub where you'd catch up in the cool morning or evening. She picks high noon specifically because she knows no one else will be there. That tells you everything you need to know about how desperate she is to be invisible. So, what built these walls of shame so high? Well, let's break it down brick by brick. First, she's a Samaritan, which meant she was seen as an ethnic and religious outcast by the Jews. On top of that, she's a woman. And in that culture, that came with a ton of social limitations. And then you have her personal life, a complicated past with 5 husbands, and her current situation, living with the man who isn't her husband. Every single one of these things is another brick in that wall. But on this one day, at this one world, her whole carefully built world of isolation is about to get completely turned upside down by an encounter that, by all accounts, should never have happened. You have to understand how wild this moment was. The social rules were crystal clear. A respected Jewish man, a rabbi no less, would never acknowledge a Samaritan, let alone a Samaritan woman, and certainly not one with her kind of reputation. But what actually happens, he shatters every single one of those rules. He doesn't just talk to her. He actually asks her for a drink, making himself the vulnerable one in the conversation. And this is where we get to the absolute heart of it all, the moment where the very thing she's been terrified of her whole life, being exposed, finally happens. So as they're talking, it starts to dawn on her, wait a second, this isn't just some random traveler. This Jewish rabbi, he knows things about her. He knows her story, her secrets, and there's no way anyone could have told him. And then he just says it. He lays out the very facts that have defined her life of shame. But listen to the way it's presented. It's not an accusation. It's not a gotcha moment. It's just a statement. He sees her reality, the whole messy truth of it, and just says it out loud. And this is the pivot point. You can just imagine it, right? She was probably bracing for impact. She was 100% expecting judgment, 100% expecting to be buried under even more shame. But what did she get instead? 100% acceptance. Her deepest, darkest secret was brought into the light, and she wasn't rejected. She was just seen. And the effect that this acceptance has on her is immediate and honestly nothing short of radical. This one moment of being seen without being shamed completely rewrites her entire identity. I mean, look at this journey. It's a complete 180-degree turn. She starts out isolating herself, hiding from everyone. Then she has this raw, truthful encounter. She's fully seen and accepted. And the result? She becomes a messenger. The woman who couldn't bear to be looked at is now the first person to run back and tell her entire town about what just happened. And the symbolism here is just, wow, it's so powerful. She leaves her water jar. This jar wasn't just a pot, it was the whole reason she was out there. It was the symbol of her daily grind, her burden, her isolation, and she just drops it. She literally leaves the weight of her old life right there and runs, not away from people anymore, but straight towards them. So what's the big idea here? Why does this story from thousands of years ago still hit so close to home for us today? I think it's this. True freedom from shame, it doesn't come from getting better at hiding our secrets or pretending our past doesn't exist. It comes from finding a person or a community or a faith where our whole story can be brought into the light and be met not with judgment, but with acceptance and with grace. And her own words prove it. She doesn't run back to town saying, hey, come meet the guy who called me out and condemned me. No way. Her excited announcement, her testimony is, "Come, see a man who told me everything I ever did." The very thing that was the source of her deepest shame has been transformed into the reason for her greatest joy.
And that leaves us with something to think about, doesn't it? We might not be standing by a well in Samaria, but we all have parts of our stories we'd rather keep in the shadows. So the real question for us is this: what conversations in our own lives, maybe the ones we're avoiding the most, actually hold the very key to our own freedom?